Welcome to Better Conversations with me, Sehaam Cyrene, giving you the words and the confidence for better conversations in leadership. That's what I do in each episode. I explore strategies and I love sharing questions and phrases for you to play around with and make your own. This recording happens live at Better Conversations on YouTube, so you might like to chat with me there and drop me a conversation challenge. I want to talk to you about how you can use coaching conversation skills in a 5-minute conversation. And very often in our Leaders Who Coach program, leaders will ask, do I have to have a full 1 hour one-to-one direct report meeting in order to use these skills or have an impact in my conversation? Sometimes I'm just really rushed. I've got back-to-back meetings and I just need a quick check-in. So how might I use these skills? Are they relevant? Absolutely. You can use your coaching conversation skills in any conversation, in any situation. You could be at the supermarket, you could be, in a negotiation. You can use these skills everywhere. But I want to show you, I'm going to share with you 5 questions that you might use in 5 minutes, in a 5-minute conversation with a direct report. Look at the near the moment events. So that might be before a presentation, it might be after the presentation, it might be before a meeting, it might be that you've just had a planning meeting and you just want to do a quick follow-up with somebody afterwards. So these are great for being able to just make sure, okay, are you really clear about what needs to happen? Was there any ambiguity? Maybe you didn't get a chance to actually cover something in a meeting. But in the interests of everybody's time and so on, you thought, I'll leave that till later. I'll catch up with them after the meeting. So you'd want to use these, or they're most effective when they are near the moment, near the event, and that can be before or after. And that might be either a planned meeting or check-in, or it could be a sort of impromptu. As I just mentioned, it might be we didn't get to that in the meeting, so I'm going to follow up with you afterwards. Or could you hang back for 5 minutes so we can sync up, or just run through some things? Or it might be a planned one. It might be something that you have had a big meeting with that individual and you've agreed that you're going to check in on them in a couple of days' time to see if things are still good for them. All right, so let's have a look at some of the questions that you could use. Where are you stuck? If you're getting the sense that they took on a task or an activity, but they're hesitating for some reason, or they express to you that they're not sure how to get started, this is just a really simple, straightforward question to ask. Where are you stuck? And then invite them to basically share some of the things that they're not sure about. And then, there you go. You can get into that discussion and get them to think about what they could do to get themselves unstuck. Again, just to point out here that when we're asking the question, we really want to create that space for them to think and talk it through. Obviously, in 5 minutes, it's not going to be a major topic, or it's not going to be about a long-term plan. It really is a much more tactical type of check-in meeting. So you wouldn't do the preamble, you wouldn't have the initial sort of, getting them to set the scene. What is it that they would like to talk about? What is it that you would like to add to that agenda? And then work through that before coming to this point where you're trying to troubleshoot. So this might happen somewhere in a longer conversation, but we can really definitely use it in a quick 5-minute check-in. So where are you stuck? Just really simple, and leave the floor open for them to express what's coming up for them. All right, so that's where are you stuck? What's concerning you? Similar to that question about being stuck, what's concerning you actually allows us to surface some things that we're not 100% sure about. Very often we kind of want to express things that we feel confident or definite about, and that's not always the case, and most of the time we don't have that kind of clarity or confidence in a thought or an action. So it might, by asking what's concerning you, gives the individual an opportunity to consider, well, I'm not sure that so-and-so was bought into the idea. So there may be other things that they are able to express that are not directly related maybe to their work or their activities or what they're going to do, but they surface the things that you think are actually going to derail them or block them. Because if we think someone isn't bought into an idea, for example, then we're going to probably hesitate in setting up a meeting to follow up with them. And so by asking the question, what's concerning you, we allow the individual to surface things that may be outside of their control, as well as things that they feel like I don't know how to do this, I haven't done this before, or I'm not sure who to talk to. These can be the things that can typically sit at the back of our minds, and they're the last thing to drop, the last thing that we'll share, and we'll only do it when we've got a high level of trust with an individual. So just by asking this, what's concerning you, can allow them to share that. It could be that they're just, in an off state, their mind is not in a great space. So that allows for that as well. It's a really lovely, open, non-assuming question. One of the best. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. What have you tried and what have you thought about doing? This is a good one because it stops us from jumping into solution mode for them. It allows us to gather more evidence and to understand what have they actually tried to do, because very often we do jump in with, oh, you've got a problem, let me tell you what you need to do. And we haven't actually taken the time to inquire what they've thought about doing, what did they actually try, and so we're wasting time, but also we are in that process of just telling them that you need to do X, Y, and Z, and they've already done it or they've already tried to do it. We are disempowering them. We are not allowing for them to feel heard, and so by asking this question, it syncs you both up as to where are they at with this particular issue in trying to resolve it. It also offers you a chance for them to build on it. Okay, so you tried that. What else have you thought about doing? So there's a follow-up question, or would you like to brainstorm about what you could do in that regard? Just another lovely one you can get into. And you know what? The thing about these questions is that just allowing that space and being asked that question can create massive clarity, because what it creates is that opportunity to get what's in our heads out and do that verbal processing. So as we talk, things become clear. What we're doing by asking a question is really inviting them to get into that space of, okay, this is what's in my head. It may be a little jumbled, and that's absolutely fine. But by speaking it out and saying it out loud, actually it's become really clear to me what I need to do. Job done. And the thing that, the magical thing that a lot of leaders say when we practice spot coaching is, I didn't do anything. I don't know what I did. I simply, asked one question and they seem to have it all figured out from there. And that's the beauty of it, because individuals do have the answers. It's just there's something there that until we vocalize it, it remains a not. On the other side of that, the person who's been asked the question, they say, no, actually, it was kind of in my head, but it was a bit of a jumble, but it was really helpful to speak it out. So just sharing that experience of leaders on our course, leaders who coach, when they're going through that. So there is that sense of, I really didn't do very much. Fantastic, but you did, and you created space for somebody to just get that out, and all it takes is 5 minutes. Okay, let's have a look at a couple more questions. Why is that important? It's one of my favorite questions. It's clarifying. It helps us prioritize. Well, okay, why is it important? And it allows us to list out all the things. And again, just by listing them out, we can go, well, maybe that part is taken care of, but actually now that I'm talking it through, I'm seeing that this other area is potentially even more important, and I should prioritize that as the next thing that I do. Just by asking that, it affords us an ability to recalibrate and think about, what is actually really important here? Also, it allows us to check in with our personal values. Well, it's really important to me because the quality of the work matters. I think we should be putting out high quality work, and it shouldn't go out to the customer at a certain, at a substandard level. And that validation, that self-validation, gives that individual the motivation, the emotional commitment to follow through on what it is that they need to do. And you giving them that space and is validating too. So it means that they can go, actually, that is really important. And so I was a bit stuck on it because I don't think other people maybe are bought into this. So I need to go and have some conversations with those individuals and see if we can align on raising the quality of it. And that's it. So look, in the space of time that I've explained that to you, these are the thought processes that an individual can have if you ask them that question. All right, and finally, what do you want to do next? It's really important that we feel we have control over our work, our actions, and why we do it, and we have that clarity. So by asking, what do you need to do next, means that we can prioritize the very next thing that needs to happen to keep that forward motion, to keep that forward momentum with our work, or our conversations or our planning, whatever that is. And it's not, sometimes we procrastinate and we push off the stuff that we don't enjoy doing. But actually sometimes those are the very things that need to be done next. And so by asking this question, we allow for that. Yeah, I don't really want to do that just yet. It's not my favorite bit of the work, but I can see that it's there's a dependency on what else comes next, and actually maybe that will set my conversations up much better if I do this one thing first. So for example, if I do write that summary of what we've agreed and email it to them, then that sets the conversation up better for when we meet in a couple of days' time. So just an example there. Just understanding the priority and sequence of things is really helpful. So again, just that question that you could ask in 5 minutes. So let's have a look at, you might use a couple of these. You may not have time to use all 5 of them, but you might pick a couple of them. What's concerning you? Why is that important? Or what have you tried? And what do you need to do next? Okay, so you can use them in combination or you can use them on their own. When we can do this for people, when we can create that sort of clarity and get people unstuck in a really simple, quick way like that, accountability and ownership are much easier to have in place. It means that you can come back to this conversation because I can check in on you with your permission and as agreed in a couple of days and see, how did it go? Did you do what you needed to? How did that conversation go? Okay, so maybe it was, 80% of it went fantastic, but there's 20% that we could tweak. What does that look like? And so you can continue that conversation. But in all of that, what we haven't done is taken away ownership. We haven't stepped in and said, here's what you need to do, and discounted what they may have already been trying to do or where they've been wanting to grow in their capability. We've firmly let it be in their space. They own it. They own moving past it and through it. And that means that, the chances of that follow through and things happening are much higher when we haven't taken away ownership, but we've let them think through what do they need to do. So I hope that's been helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you have enjoyed this particular video and share it. We all get stuck on these things, and in our effort to help and move things along quickly, and the pressure of time that we have, we can jump in too quickly. But I hope that helps you kind of slow yourself down and think about alternative ways that you could be in the conversation for that person. And if you would like to learn more, these are the skills of leaders who coach. We practice these activities, we do live coaching conversations and so on, so that we can experiment and play around with and see what fits and feels comfortable. And so if you're interested, do check out details of the course on our website and when the next public cohort is. And if you're interested in these skills for your leaders in your organization, then we also run internal company cohorts as well. So do check out the information there. Fantastic. Thanks for joining me. I will see you next week.